Well, welcome everyone here to our wonderful grandmother and astro chat with Valanne Ridgeway. We're so excited. We want to do this more and more. I would like to do one every day, by the way. For the record, Valanne. Valanne's an astrologer. She's a fellow learner here at Inner Access 101. She has a lot of hats that she wears, and she is a phenomenal astrologer. I cannot listen to enough things that you do. So we're here today because how many times a month do we say, well, and you always say, I think grandmother's an astrologer. So grandmother, the wonderful spirit guide that I channel, we do a daily focus, a monthly focus, a yearly focus, all things grandmother here on our website. And we do a monthly focus, which I know you follow, you read it. It's a two-page printout, just for those of you who are like, what is it? What are you talking about? We have like a two-page printout that comes out the first of every month. And grandmother's really showing us what the energies are for the month and how we can stay on track and maximize our time. And then months are long. So in the middle of the month, the mid-month, she does an additional 30-minute podcast that kind of keeps us on track or amplifies what the month is all about, which I find fascinating to see. So we're going to be sharing a little bit today about April 2025's monthly focus, which was the great Starling murmuration of change. And when grandmother said murmuration, I had to look it up. It's like, what's a murmuration? I think starling's a bird, or are we talking about starlings in space? Like, what are we talking about? But a starling murmuration is a fabulous, like, dance of a flock of starlings and they're moving together synchronistically, like in harmony, and they're just beautiful. If you ever look on YouTube for videos of starling murmurations, it's these swirling masses of birds just beautifully synced in with one another. So I was just going to read a few highlights from the monthly focus, and then Valanne, I know you're going to, you know,
Mhm.
validate or add to from your astrological point of view. Grandmother said, I'm just reading right from the teaching here. She said, this is a moon of great and easy magic. It is a time to be able to create things out of your will and what may seem to be out of thin air. Of course, that which you manifest this moon is not out of intention or thin air. And she chuckles. She says, what comes to you this moon, and rather easily so, is the culmination of your entire life's work. So then she had us doing three things to kind of keep us on track, staying out of our own way, um, soaring higher, and being more social, which is like, oh, that was interesting. And on the second page, she says, you need to remember that long ago you also planned to fly together with others who are strongly on their own path. You need to fly like starlings in a great flock, or what is called a starling murmuration. It is a moon to know that as one single being, you are also taking your place in what she calls the great starling murmuration of change. I
Hmm.
just had shivers when I was, typing it. I was like, wow, what's this month going to be about? So, Valanne, whatever you could add in from your
Okay.
expertise.
Uh,
Uh,
as always, when I read grandmother, or listen to grandmother, I think and hear planets. Like that's how it works for me. And
mhm.
so I actually circled what you just read. It's the time for you to know that as one single being, you are now taking part in the great starling murmuration change. And murmuration, I had no idea what that meant either. I do now, but change. So as soon as I looked at that, I went, oh, that is so perfect for where we were going with the new cycles that we've stepped into. And here's what happened March 30th. And I realized I should have checked that date. Pretty sure it was March 31st, maybe.
Okay.
Neptune moved into Aries. So I'll just tell you the astrology, but then I'll tell you how that actually correlates with what grandmother said. Neptune is about the big picture. It's about unity consciousness. It's about feeling the oneness. It's about our dreams, our visions for ourselves. And it shifted into Aries for the first time since 1861. So we're in big cycles
Wow.
right now.
Okay.
And Aries is about be like the key phrase for Aries is I am. It's being who we are, showing up. And Aries is takes courage, and courage, the word courage comes from cur, the heart. So when I look at this, it's like the courage to follow your heart, but have the big picture and to be able to see, to see ourselves in this. We're all in it. We're all in it. And, as part of what I've been talking about over the last few months is, and now really as of April, there is no turning back. This is it. We're in the future. We're moving into the future that we can't even see. And what do? We trust. All we can do is trust because we can't fully see. So we can trust that our heart is guiding us. We can take the courage to just be who we are. And there were so many pieces that she said in both the monthly and the mid-month where we all are called now to line up for ourselves, to follow our heart, our intuition, that's Neptune, that inner guidance, that connection to all that is, whatever that is and have the courage to take steps towards this, whatever that is, show up. And it doesn't have to be, it's like smiling at your neighbor. It's like, helping someone else, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be this huge, huge thing.
Right.
It's whatever you're called to do. And I have this real conviction, I guess it's part of who I always am, but that if each one of us did our own part, if each one of us showed up, following our heart, following our intuition, following that guidance, being clear about who we are, and I'm not saying that's easy, but that's the call,
Right.
then we uplift the collective. And there it is. That's the unity consciousness. We raise up the group. And then I can see the Starling murmuration of change, the flow. We're all separate in that flow.
Right.
We have to trust what we are being guided to individually to be part of, but we're also part of this huge change. Yeah. And here's the piece and then I'll pause so we can reflect on, but here's the piece that's fascinating is next month, and maybe we'll be actually talking about this, Saturn goes into Aries. Saturn is about structure, it's about reality, it's about manifestation. And Aries is the courage to take action. So what is it? So these two, Neptune, our dreams, our vision, our sensitivity to everyone else, our compassion, our creativity, taking action on that. And then Saturn comes in and says, let's make it real. And so right now Saturn's still in Pisces, Saturn's still in the dream, a Neptunian kind of energy, the dream of what we want to make real. But next month they come together, and all of that is to find a way, I'm going to say, to follow our heart, to take steps in what we want to manifest in our life. What does that look like? What courage do we need to step into to be true to who we are, wherever that falls in our life? And here's the big thing. Next February 2026, both Saturn and Neptune, I'm sure I said this on the yearly, but I have to repeat it because it's such a big
okay.
different people will be hearing. Saturn and Neptune step into Aries together at 0 degrees of Aries. And if you look at the zodiac, Saturn is the very beginning of the zodiac. So the very beginning of the cycle, 0 degrees, the very beginning of Aries, beginning of the zodiac. This has never happened in human history. So we are in this year, we are having an opportunity, especially this spring and summer, to actually practice or to pay attention, intend for what we want to create for ourselves, how we want to attune to our inner guidance, how we want to follow the intuition, follow our dreams, create what we want to envision for ourselves. We get a chance to play with this.
Right.
We get a little bit of a time to assess how it went. But it's all this prelude to this huge new cycle. And I think of it in the context when I think about grandmother, and I think of higher frequency. I think about, a new level of compassion, we're literally beginning a cycle that's never been before.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people talk about we're creating a new world. And we are. It's like, okay, well, we've done okay so far. We're still here. That's a good thing. But there is room for improvement,
Yes.
personally and societally, humanity wise.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting to hear that we're at, if I'm understanding you correctly, we're we're practicing, this new flight, and we're putting ourselves out there, whatever that means. And then next year, for the first time ever in history, we're basically creating
Yeah.
a new, a new
Yeah.
cycle. Yeah. Oh,
And so we're just
okay.
this month,
Mhm.
April was the first month that Neptune, this dream, our vision, our ideals, our compassion, our creativity, first time it stepped into Aries once again for, since 1861. So we're in it now.
Right.
There is no turning back. We're in it now. We're living it now. And so how do you listen to your inner guidance, and how do you connect to spirit, and how do you have empathy for everyone, and how all those pieces, and and Lori, I think of your courses, it's like that's what you've been teaching forever. How do
Right.
you connect? How do you recognize it? And it's then having the courage to live it in some way,
Yeah.
to listen to your inspiration and have the courage to take action. Once again, it doesn't have to be a big thing, but it has to follow whatever everyone's particular path is right now that
It's
aligns to.
almost like we're coming out of the closet
Yeah, 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 yeah,
with our
exactly.
power.
Exactly. I love that. I love that.
Mm.
And of course, so the next month we're going to get a dub, an extra oomph to this, because Saturn's going to say, okay, let's make it real. This
Right,
is this
right.
is we're going to make it real now. And what does that look like?
Awesome.
So, anyways, that was that place where each of us taking our place in the great Starling murmuration, but in
Yes.
this change, each of us doing it. What is our heart calling us to do
Yeah.
in this moment? Because that is going to change our world.
Hmm.
The rest is chaos. The rest is the old story
Yeah.
disintegrating. The rest, it's all falling apart, as
Yeah.
it has to, because we're birthing this new thing that we can't even imagine. But if we all literally, move from our heart,
And show up. Yeah.
show up as who we are, and once again, it's that's not easy.
No, no, it's not easy. And I think, having worked with people my whole career, we're so accustomed to doing so much alone.
Yeah,
Being that individual starling flying around and pecking around, we don't even realize there's a whole lot more than just ourselves doing this. All we need to do is take flight, do our piece. And again, I really encourage everyone to look on YouTube, and there's so many beautiful videos out there. And it's just breathtaking. It's like, how are they flying together, and they're banking and swooping and changing? And if you see it from afar, you don't even know what you're looking at. It might even look like a bit of a tornado or something. And then you realize there's like thousands and thousands of birds, aka people, flying in their own unique way, but also synchronistically part of something bigger than themselves, which to me is foreign for most people I've privileged to work with.
yeah,
And also, most of the people we connect with are these pioneers that have been gutting it out and doing their own personal thing, and trying to make the world a better place almost inside and standing up for themselves. But there's not been this huge flock of celebration, really. It
yeah,
feels very celebratory because the last few months, well, I mean, we've all lived it. It's like, were we even present? Like, we had no brains. Like, it was just been like, when I ask people, or even myself, it's like, what do you remember of the earlier part of the year, or even last year? It's like, like, it was just a fog. So now it feels like we can at least see and fly
yeah,
and celebrate probably what we've all been waiting for all of our lives, to be a part of something. It's like, oh my gosh, we don't have to just theorize about it. We could actually fly and do it. Huh.
yeah. And
So,
it's
so
and
it's
it's
the right time, right? To
the
fly.
perfect time. It's the perfect time. And it is the courage to take that higher perspective, to fly, because as you're talking about the videos, and I don't know if I've seen it in real life. Maybe I have. I can't remember. But to the flow, and that's Neptunian energy, the flow, to be able to trust the flow, to trust that, we're all being supported to be who we are right now. That's the all this Aries energy, that's the new cycle we're coming
Right.
into.
Okay.
Show up as who you are. that, that courageous act of following your own passion, following your own inspiration, all of those pieces are so potent. And so that, but trusting that when you're in the flow of this bigger picture, this bigger perspective, we're in this big change and we're all doing it together. That's the
Yes,
that's
yes,
the murmuration. We're all in it.
yeah.
Like otherwise you drop into the ground. Like there is no choice. So if we're all can be in that flow, it's going to make everything, make all the changes
Yes.
smoother in some way, or to feel support. And I'm going to say something else here because it reminds me, I would have spoken about this in the yearly too. The Pluto moved into Aquarius, and Aquarius is about being our own unique self, being authentic. Pluto is about transformation, total transformation, and showing up in our power. And the Aquarian piece is the collective. So I think grandmother mentioned something about this, but about having support. So it's finding the tribe, your people, your community, your friend, doesn't really matter, that supports each and every one of us to show up for ourselves and to find our own way of standing in our power. And once
Yeah.
again, that's the same as that Aries I am, but there's a connection to, when I'm just who I am, fully who I am, this too raises up the collective.
Yes.
So it's about being individuals, showing up, having the courage to do that, being able to express who we've come in to be, showing up in our power. And it's almost as if it gives permission for the person next to you, or the person, it's that
Mhm.
frequency exchange, right? It's all of a sudden, oh, hang on,
I
you
can
know,
do that.
exactly. And then having your people around you, your tribe, your community, whatever it is, that says, yeah, like just we love you how you are. We're also hard on ourselves. And
Yes,
so
we
we need those people around us to say, no, 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 you're not that. I just had that in a class, and I said something, and they, immediately two people, one of the mentor and another friend in the class, basically said, did you hear what you said? It was a little harsh on myself, a little judgmental on myself. So we all do it, but
right,
what we're being called to is to actually have people around us who can remind us of who we are. And his
right.
grandmother said something in this month about being supported.
Yeah. Well, and she said this isn't random socialization or that of
Yes.
duty, but rich and purposeful socialization. You
Yes,
need to spend time with those of like mind and heart. So that's the tribe you're talking about, so that
exactly.
you can breathe more vitality into your own dreams and plans and
Yeah,
breathe new life into their dreams and plans. It's like, just as you said, I see you. This is awesome. Let's celebrate that.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's good to be reminded again. I've been channeling grandmother since 1989 and doing the monthly and the daily focus since 96. And I'm always watching how she chooses her words so very carefully, not cautiously,
yeah,
but if when I'm hearing her dictate, basically the teaching or talk, and I'm typing it, if I put it in my word, which I rarely do anymore. I'm a good student, but
yeah,
it's like, that's an odd word. Why would you choose that? And when she said, you need to remember that long ago you also planned to fly together, who are strongly on their own path. And I think we know that,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's been so singular. It's been so, everybody got spread in the winds like seeds, and we've all been doing our part, I would say, fairly much alone. And you
yeah,
may find one or two people, but now it's like, wow, when you see those starlings flying together, it's like,
yeah.
whoa,
And it
get out there and
think
fly.
of totally. And it does make me think of when you think about, the vision of like the photo of the Earth from space, we're all together.
Yeah,
They're like, we have to do this together. I think that's part of what this time is that we need to do it together. We need to support each other. And that's because we are not separate. We're truly not separate. And that's the Neptunian energy. We
yeah,
are not separate. That's the energetically, collectively, whatever it is, we're all doing this. And so if we can all support each other in our,
Yeah.
and I'll just another astrology piece. The new moon in the middle of the month, which would have been about the time that you did the mid-month full moon, the moon was in Libra.
Okay.
And that is about relationships, fair and balance. You know, it's a very, and it's an active, it's relating. This is actively relating. And when listening to her, you know, for the highest version of a relationship, like who do you have in your life?
Yeah.
How does that support you? How do you feel balanced in that? Anyways, I just thought that was interesting, that the piece about relationship you were probably, you know, channeling through grandmother through you at about the time of the new moon. So there you go.
There
It
you go.
all makes sense.
Well, it does, and this is the fun that we get to have is it's like she's telling it in one way, you know, somebody else is probably channeling their guides or their own wisdom in another way, and then this astrological overview. Thank goodness you know in your giant brain so as much as you know because it would take like forever to study it. So we just defer to you. And then it's like, no, it's not just what you're saying or you're saying. This is what the stars are saying.
Yeah.
And to me, it's so validating to realize, it's not just us in our own mind, in our own brain, in our own little departments, and our own little seed pods all over the place. It's like the stars are actually aligning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Like it, I'm so glad.
Exactly. I know, and it's validating, and it's also this from my perspective, of course. I feel so supported by the planets, whether I'm looking at the big patterns, which we're all living, whether I'm looking at them more closely, you know, in my own chart or in an individual's chart. But it just basically it feels like that connection to oneness is beyond humanity. I mean, beyond it's like the connection to source, connection
Yeah.
to is it's like it's written in the stars.
Yeah.
The and because I've studied this, and I can sort of, when I listen to grandmother and I hear the words, I can hear the resonance of the planets in certain places at
Yeah.
the moment, you know, like for April, very key, so key things happening. And the fact that you know, that this murmuration, the Starling murmuration, and Neptune went into Aries like the day before. You would have, well, you were probably doing it on the day. I don't know when you release it,
No,
but
I do it just the eve before. Yeah.
okay.
I'm a
So
night owl, so the dailies, the daily focus, the monthly focus, it's just all happening, between 11 p.m. and
right.
2 p.m. in the morning or 2 a.m. in the
My
morning.
gosh, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't think too much. I just
so
want,
you would have been, I should have timed this with you. You would have been doing this channeling grandmother at the time that Neptune was moving into Aries.
there you go.
And so this whole the synergy of that, the energy and the beautiful visual of the murmuration.
Murmuration. Yeah. Yeah. It's a new word for us all.
Totally, got to practice using it. Yeah, and I'm going to say one other thing because I know we're about at time. There's another piece that I highlighted. It's part about getting out our own way, but it was even more than that. So there's right now North Node, South Node are in an axis. I won't go into the astrology of it, but the South Node is what we're releasing, and it's in Virgo. So it's being discerning. But it's letting go of our not needing to be perfect.
Mm.
And what grandmother wrote, we're looking for systems. So Virgo is about finding the best system.
Mhm.
And so you'll better be able to thread the many parts of your vision together. And the Pisces, the opposite, is the dream and the vision. And so I love that because I thought we can use our own ability to be the best we can be. But
Mhm.
the piece that we need to release is that we don't have to be perfect in this. This is not,
Right.
so it ties in with what are we stepping forward, having the courage to step forward and know that it may not be perfect. And that's okay because that's how you learn. That's how things get better.
Yeah.
Just in general, it just makes I noticed that and I highlighted it when I was reading it. So that's also important to remember because there's a lot of releasing because we're moving into a whole new cycle a whole
Hmm.
new future none of us can foresee from this point, this vantage point, and we have to trust that we're being supported, and then we have to let go of old stories that we're telling ourselves,
Yes, yeah.
and to just know that. And there's some grieving in that. There's a lot of letting go.
Well, those old stories and what we had to tell ourselves in the privacy of our own sanity, is what kept us strong, what kept us courageous as singular beings, out in a world that has been changing for a long time. But we have been pioneers, but sort of, pioneers don't all get together and say, hey, let's do this side by side. They're out looking for new dominions. They're looking for the new things. They're building new worlds. Maybe there's a few together,
Yeah,
and a lot of them don't make it because they get lost in the woods, or, they are not able to have that strength within to just keep pioneering. I'm
yeah.
glad you mentioned the systems because of conveniently I forgot that. It's like you need to soar higher. It's like, okay, yeah, be bigger, see the big picture. But then, yeah, you are a mite short on systems. Systems to help you stay organized and more on track than you've been able to be thus far. So it's like, oh right, I better read that sentence myself this week as we're wrapping up the moon.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Well, I'm so glad to hear these pieces of you of what you're sharing. And again, the mid-month focus, the mid-month podcast, of course, I'm channeling it. So I'm not making notes necessarily when I'm channeling, but what struck me about that part was, and grandmother had us do an exercise, and I'd encourage everybody to listen to it. Like she had us, moving our arms and our body like a starling as if we were in that flow, in that connection, which I was doing as I was channeling. It was like, oh, okay, this is really comforting to
mm,
know that as I'm moving, I'm not just flying out here by myself. I'm actually moving in sync with this bigger picture that you're talking about, Valanne. And then she kept saying, surrender to our natural power, surrender to our natural connection. Like you've got this, you know how to do this,
yeah,
and you belong. It's like I say that to a lot of people. It's like you do belong. You're not alone. And we know that, being connected to higher frequencies or our guides or all the sources that we teach about, but it's so easy to forget. So
yes,
this part, you just said it earlier today, I feel like I'm walking around a lot in my day-to-day life and in teaching. It's like you're not alone. You do belong. And please, as Valanne said, do your part. We need you up here. We can't have a starling murmuration with two birds.
yeah, exactly.
Fly
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, everyone is joining in their own way. So
Yes.
just to know that we're all supported to be part of this big change. We're all in it.
Yeah.
So there was something you just said. Now I'm just lost it. Something you said doesn't matter. It's okay. There'll be other times to chat.
Well,
I lost it.
hopefully.
I should have made a note.
Yeah.
Um, anyways, yeah. No, oh, I know what it was. Surrender.
Mm.
Neptune, that is another, I won't go into too much astrology, but Neptune is around surrendering.
Okay.
And Aries is about our passion, our inspiration, our fire, our spirit, so once again, she's literally using words, you know, dictating to you words that if you were writing an astrological sentence is absolutely exact to what this huge change that we just initiated this month. Blows me away.
Yeah.
Blows me away. Unbelievable.
Oh, well, it's so wonderful, and I'm excited to carry on these wonderful chats. And we'll see, for if it feels right to do it more often. I don't know if monthly is going to work because all of a sudden the months come and go. But when there's a key teaching, I'm going to be calling you up and saying, okay, give us the language in an
Absolutely.
astrological perspective, because it's just it's fabulous and it's fun and it's time.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, it's so much fun for me to read and to read the astrology as I'm reading. Yeah, love it, love it. Yeah,
Beautiful. Well, I'm deeply privileged that you do, and you're part of our community as well as your own communities. So I do encourage everyone, to definitely get in touch with Valanne for a personal chart. I just did mine last week, and it's just like, oh, okay. Not only can you hold the frequency of what's happening this year, but then when you put it up with your wonderful lens of your own personal chart, it makes it so much more um, relevant and encouraging as well.
Mhm.
So I'll put in the show notes your website, Valanne, valannesastrology.com. And again, this is your gal. You gotta go check it out. Also, if anybody's interested to access grandmother's monthly focus we've been talking about, which again is the 2 page on the first of the month, a printout of kind of here's the heads up for the month. I know we all look forward to that. And I just print it out and keep it on my desk because I forget about it and I have to read it every week. It's like, oh, wow, that's great. Or we used to put it on the fridge when the kids were here so that we could all read it. And then that mid-month podcast that really kind of like, hey, don't forget to use the energy of the month, or don't forget you're right on track, because we're busy, right? We're all busy living life. So I'll put that link in the show notes as well. Yeah, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and come here, come back often, and hopefully we will have our wonderful Valanne back for another grandmother and Valanne's Astro Chats.
Love it.
Yeah,
Thank you
beautiful.
so
Well,
much.
thanks for being here with us again today, and thanks for being courageous, pioneering, now
Thank
flying Starling you.
thank you. Thank you for having me. That was so much fun.
Yeah, beautiful. Bye bye, everyone.